Hey guys, this is Jason with Tactical Data Desk LLC. You know I use a lot of AI in the code I write. Well, this upcoming video I used AI entirely to make it. I was 100% hands off. And you'll see a lot of this has similarities to my GEX and Gamma video, but all I did was click two buttons after I made that video and this came out. If you like it, let me know and I'll try to do more of it.
Tactical Data Desk. Integrity, service, and excellence.
Those crazy moves in the market, the ones that just rip higher or suddenly fall off a cliff, we always chalk it up to fear or greed or some big news event. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the most violent moves weren't driven by human emotion at all, but by a kind of hidden, mathematical reflex built deep into the market's core?
Welcome to the Tactical Data Desk. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and map that exact machine. This isn't about predicting sentiment or guessing what traders are thinking. This is an engineering diagram of what we call the forced mechanic, the mathematical proof that massive amounts of liquidity are mandated to move. We're going to trace the gears of a system that honestly runs completely on its own.
Okay, so where does something like this even begin? Well, every machine needs a power source, and for this one, it all starts with a single, non-negotiable legal requirement. This is the foundation. It's the fundamental reason why this machine must run day in and day out.
And here it is. This is the engine room. You've got two main inputs, the mandate for market makers to always provide quotes, and the SEC's net capital rule. Put simply, market makers legally have to be there to take the other side of your trade. But when they do that, they take on risk. And as you can see in that glowing red box, unhedged risk can literally equal liquidation. It's game over. So, to stay alive, they are forced to continuously hedge. It is not a choice. It's a reflex for survival. So now we get the why. Let's get to the how. We're going to zoom in from that 30,000-foot view of regulations all the way down to the level of one single trade. And we're going to watch how the very first gear in this giant machine begins to turn.
But first, we need to speak the machine's language, and its most basic unit of measurement for risk is called delta. Just think of it as pure directional exposure. It tells the market maker exactly how much they stand to win or lose if the underlying stock moves up or down by $1.
And here it is, the first domino to fall. Take a look at this ledger. A retail trader comes in and buys 100 SPX call contracts. The market maker, by law, takes the other side of that bet, which means they are now short those calls. The math is automatic. 100 contracts times the options delta means they now have a negative 5,200 delta exposure. And to fix that, to get back to neutral, a forced action is triggered. They have absolutely no choice but to immediately go out and buy 5,200 units of the underlying asset.
So they're hedged. Problem solved, case closed, right?
No, not even close. That perfect hedge is only accurate for a single fleeting moment. The instant the market ticks up or down, a powerful new force kicks in, a kind of accelerator that makes that first hedge totally wrong.
And this is that accelerator, gamma. You know, if delta is the speed of the market, gamma is its acceleration. It measures how fast your delta is changing. Gamma is the entire reason that the hedge we just talked about becomes obsolete the moment the price moves. It's the engine of the feedback loop. And this is what we call the gamma trap. Okay, so remember our starting position. We were hedged with 5,200 units. But now, let's say the SPX price rises just 10 points. Suddenly the math changes. That arithmetic engine shows that our delta has changed, and now we have a deficit, a delta leak of 370 units. And here's the crucial part. Another forced action gets triggered. The market maker has to buy 370 more units, but now they're buying at a higher price, which itself can push the market up even more. See the loop?
Now take a step back for a second. That was the effect from one single trade. So what happens when you imagine that same mechanical reaction happening thousands of times per second across millions of different options contracts? Well, that tiny little delta leak, it stops being a drip and it turns into a tidal wave.
And this is the mathematical architecture that calculates that wave. Now, I know this equation looks pretty intense, but you don't need to solve it. All you need to understand is that its job is to add up all the individual gamma exposures across the entire market. It's calculating the total gravity of the market, a concept we call GEX, or gamma exposure. And the output of that equation? Well, for just a single strike price and for just a 1% move in the market is this.
An absolutely staggering number, over $261 million of forced liquidity. That's money that has to be deployed. So here's the metaphor in action. All those little micro hedges, like that 370-unit buy we just saw, are flowing through these pipes. They all combine to create this astronomical, market-wide force, this aggregate gravity that is so powerful it can literally dictate the market's direction. And when that gravity becomes incredibly concentrated at a single price point, you get something we call a GX wall. Look at this bar chart. At certain strike prices with just massive amounts of options open, the sheer volume of hedging required becomes so immense that it acts like a giant magnet, physically pinning the market in place and killing momentum. All right, so we've established this massive, invisible force is always at work. But what does it actually do to the market we see and trade every single day? Well, it doesn't just influence the market. It actually creates two completely different worlds, two distinct regimes that dictate the weather.
This matrix lays it out perfectly. On the left, in blue, you have the positive GX regime. In this world, market makers are positioned to sell into rallies and buy into dips. This action suppresses volatility and creates a calm, choppy, range-bound market. But on the right, in red, you have the negative GX regime. Here, they're forced to do the exact opposite. They have to buy into rallies and sell into dips. This amplifies every single move, and it's what creates those violent, trending freight trains that just don't stop.
And understanding this isn't just some cool theoretical exercise. As this flowchart shows, it can actually be systematized. You can compute the total GX from all the options data to identify exactly which regime we're in. And that tells you which playbook to use. Do you deploy mean reversion tactics because GX is positive? Or do you use trend-following strategies because GX is negative? So, we've traced the spark of a single trade, we've watched it get accelerated by gamma, and we've seen it amplify into a market-wide gravitational force that literally dictates the weather. So what's the big, final takeaway from all this? It all comes down to this single, powerful idea. The tail is wagging the dog. The immense market-moving impact that these dealers have is not because of some proprietary view or some directional bet they're making. It is purely a mechanical, legally mandated response to risk. They have to do it. And once you truly understand this forced hedge, your entire perspective can shift. You're no longer trying to predict the unpredictable whims of human emotion. You are now mapping a structural inevitability. You're trading based on the fixed mechanics of the system itself.
Which really leaves us with one final, thought-provoking question. If the market really is a machine, operating on a set of quantifiable rules, just like the ones we've explored, then what other hidden mechanics are out there, just waiting to be decoded?
Tactical Data Desk. Integrity, service, and excellence. Data Desk. Integrity, service, and excellence.